You find yourself in a world where emotions, though not dissected by modern psychology, were understood with profound depth. The ache in your chest isn't just a metaphor. It feels like a tangible weight, a crushing burden that makes every breath a struggle. You walk through the bustling markets of Memphis, the vibrant colors of the textiles blurring before your eyes, the chatter of merchants fading into a dull roar. The scent of freshly baked bread, usually so comforting, now seems to mock your lack of appetite. You are surrounded by life, yet you feel profoundly alone, adrift in a sea of sorrow. Think about the role of art and imagery in the tombs. The walls were covered with vibrant scenes depicting the deceased's life, their achievements, and their journey through the afterlife. For the living, visiting these tombs and contemplating these images was a way to reconnect with their loved one, to remember their life, and to find solace in the beauty and continuity of their existence. It was a visual narrative of hope, a reminder that death was not the end. This feeling, this profound sadness that grips your very being, is known to every human across every era. It's the universal language of loss, of disappointment, of love gone awry. In ancient Egypt, just like today, hearts were broken by the cruel hand of fate, by the sting of betrayal, or by the silent agony of unfulfilled longing. A loved one might be taken by the swift currents of the Nile, or by a sudden illness, leaving behind an unbearable void. A passionate affair might end in bitter separation, or a promised marriage might dissolve into dust. The emotional landscape of ancient Egypt was as rich and complex as its physical one, filled with the same joys and sorrows that define your own existence. The concept of Ka and Ba also played a role in the grieving process. The Ka, your life force, was believed to remain in the tomb, needing sustenance from offerings. The Ba, your personality, could travel between the tomb and the living world. For the grieving, making offerings to the Ka and believing in the Ba's ability to visit offered tangible ways to maintain a connection with the deceased, alleviating the pain of separation. But how did they understand this internal turmoil for the ancient Egyptians? The brain, that wrinkled mass you now know to be the seat of consciousness, was largely disregarded. It was often removed during mummification, discarded as unimportant. No, for them, the true center of intellect, memory, personality, and especially emotion, was the heart. Your heart, that rhythmic pump in your chest, was believed to be the very core of your being, the vessel of your soul, the place where all your feelings resided. When you felt joy, it was your heart singing. When you felt fear, it was your heart trembling. And when you felt the piercing agony of loss, it was your heart that was truly broken. You might see families carefully placing personal items, favorite foods, or even letters in the tomb, believing that these would accompany their loved one into the afterlife. These acts of devotion were not just rituals, they were profound expressions of love and grief, a way to continue caring for the deceased even after death. This profound belief in the heart as the seat of the soul meant that emotional suffering wasn't just a fleeting feeling, it was a serious affliction of your very essence. If your heart was heavy with grief, it meant your spirit was burdened. If it was shattered by betrayal, it meant your core identity was wounded. This wasn't just a poetic notion, it was a fundamental medical and spiritual truth. The Egyptians had a rich vocabulary for emotional states, even if they didn't have terms like depression or anxiety in your modern sense. They spoke of the heavy heart, the sick heart, the heart that weeps. The structured nature of these rituals, with their prescribed actions and timings, provided a sense of order in a chaotic time of grief. When your world felt shattered, the rituals offered a clear path forward, a series of steps to follow that brought a sense of purpose and direction to your sorrow. This predictability could be incredibly comforting. The causes of such emotional pain were manifold. Perhaps you lost a child to the unforgiving diseases that swept through the land, a grief so profound it threatened to consume you entirely. Or maybe your spouse, your beloved companion, was taken too soon, leaving you to navigate the world alone. Death was a constant presence in ancient Egypt, and the rituals of mourning were elaborate, reflecting the deep emotional bonds that tied families together. The wails of the professional mourners, the scent of myrrh and frankincense, the solemn procession to the tomb, all were expressions of a grief that tore at the very fabric of the living. A common historical fact is that the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers, was often placed in tombs to guide the deceased through the perils of the underworld and ensure their successful passage to the afterlife. For the living, the knowledge that their loved one had these powerful texts to aid them would have provided immense reassurance and alleviated anxiety about their eternal fate. But heartbreak wasn't solely the domain of death. Imagine you've fallen deeply in love, a love as intense as the desert sun, only to find your affections unrequited. The object of your desire, perhaps a beautiful dancer or a skilled scribe, simply doesn't return your fervent gaze. The pain of rejection, the humiliation of unfulfilled longing, could be just as devastating as any physical ailment. You might spend sleepless nights tossing and turning on your reed mat, your mind replaying every missed opportunity, every unspoken word. It's like trying to get over a breakup in the age of Instagram, but without the option to just block them and pretend they never existed. A lesser-known detail is the practice of letters to the dead. Grieving individuals would sometimes write letters to their deceased loved ones, placing them in the tomb or near the mummy. These letters contained pleas for help, expressions of sorrow, or requests for intervention in the living world. This was a private, yet powerful way to communicate with the deceased, to process unresolved emotions, and to maintain a sense of connection. It's like texting your deceased loved one and hoping for a reply, but with papyrus and a lot more dust. Or perhaps it was betrayal. Your closest friend, someone you trusted implicitly, has wronged you. Perhaps in a business deal, or worse, by stealing the affections of your beloved. The sting of infidelity, the shattering of trust, could leave a wound deeper than any blade. You would feel a profound sense of injustice, a burning anger mixed with the crushing weight of sorrow. Your heart, once open and trusting, would now feel guarded, scarred by the treachery. Historians still debate the psychological effectiveness of these elaborate mourning rituals. Did they genuinely help individuals process grief in a healthy way? Or did their prolonged and intense nature sometimes prolong the grieving process or lead to unhealthy attachments to the deceased? It's a complex question, as cultural norms around grief vary widely. Even social rejection or humiliation could lead to a profound sense of heartbreak. If you lost your status, if your reputation was tarnished, or if you were publicly shamed, the emotional toll could be immense. Your sense of self, so tied to your place in the community, would be deeply wounded. This kind of emotional distress, while not a romantic heartbreak, was still a profound suffering of the heart, a feeling of being disconnected and diminished. You might observe the role of priests and priestesses in providing spiritual counseling and guidance to the bereaved. They would explain the journey to the afterlife, offer prayers for the deceased, and provide comfort to the grieving. Acting as spiritual therapists in a time of profound emotional distress, the manifestations of heartbreak in ancient Egypt were strikingly similar to what you might experience today. You would lose your appetite, the finest dates and freshest fish tasting like ash in your mouth. Sleep would become an elusive dream, your nights filled with restless tossing and turning, your mind replaying the painful memories. You might feel a profound lethargy, a lack of energy that made even simple tasks feel insurmountable. The physical pain, that literal heartache, would be a constant companion. A dull throb in your chest that mirrored the emotional agony, the very landscape of Egypt, with its eternal Nile and the vast, unchanging desert, reinforced the concepts of continuity and rebirth. The sun rose and set each day. The Nile flooded annually, bringing new life to the land. This natural cycle of death and rebirth mirrored their beliefs about the afterlife, offering a powerful metaphor for overcoming loss and finding renewal. Behaviorally, you might withdraw from society, preferring the solitude of your home to the bustling crowds. Tears would flow freely, a constant stream of sorrow. You might engage in lamenting, a public expression of grief, often accompanied by tearing clothes or scattering dust on your head. These outward displays were not just for show. They were a vital part of the grieving process, a way to release the overwhelming emotions that threatened to consume you. It's like your modern-day crying sessions, but with a much more dramatic wardrobe and a built-in audience. The emphasis on preparing for your own death also played a role in coping with the death of others. By engaging in funerary preparations for yourself, you were actively confronting your own mortality and the inevitability of loss, which could, paradoxically, make the grief of others more manageable. It was a constant reminder of life's impermanence and the importance of living righteously. Beyond the physical and behavioral, there was a spiritual and existential distress. In a world where the gods were active participants in daily life, a broken heart could feel like a punishment, a sign of divine displeasure. You might feel abandoned by the very deities you worshipped, losing your sense of purpose and direction. The intricate balance of Mayat, the cosmic order, felt shattered within your own being, leaving you adrift in a world that no longer made sense. So, as you slowly drift away from this profound chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, the rituals of mourning and passage were far more than just customs. They were deeply meaningful practices, designed to guide both the deceased and the grieving heart through the profound transition of death. They offered solace, structure, and a powerful sense of continuity in a world where loss was a constant companion. You realize that, even in the land of the pharaohs, the journey through heartbreak was a sacred path, illuminated by ritual and the enduring belief in life beyond death. Initially, although your coping mechanisms would be natural, instinctual, you would weep, you would lament, you would seek comfort from your family and close friends. The community played a vital role in shared grief, offering support and participating in mourning rituals. These initial responses were crucial, providing an outlet for overwhelming emotions and a sense of solidarity in suffering. You've just navigated the profound rituals of mourning, understanding how the ancient Egyptians found solace in the face of death. Now, as your journey through their unique approach to mending broken hearts continues, you're about to step into a realm where the lines between desperate hope and manipulative desire often blurred love potions and charms. Prepare yourself to learn about the magical concoctions and practices intended not just to heal a broken heart, but to influence love, desire, and even force reconciliation. However, when grief became chronic, when the heartbreak lingered and debilitated, these natural responses were often not enough. The constant ache, the sleepless nights, the pervasive sadness, these were not just temporary setbacks. They were profound ailments that threatened your ability to function, to work, to participate in life. If your heart, the very seat of your soul, was broken, then your entire being was at risk. Imagine yourself in a secluded corner of the bustling market, or perhaps in the quiet, shadowed home of a specialized magical practitioner. Your heart aches, not from death, but from a love that has gone astray, a partner who has grown cold, or a desired individual who remains indifferent. You've tried appeals, pleas, and even the more general spells for affection, but nothing has worked. Now, in your desperation, you seek something more potent, something that can directly influence the will and desire of another. You are looking for a love potion, a charm designed to bend another's heart to your will. This recognition that emotional pain, particularly heartbreak, was a real ailment that needed addressing, was crucial. It wasn't just something you got over, it was a condition, a malady of the spirit and the heart that required intervention. The Egyptians, with a key, with their holistic view of health, understood that the physical and emotional were inextricably linked. If your heart was sick, your body would follow. And if your heart was broken, it needed to be mended. The logic behind love potions and charms was rooted in the same fundamental belief in sympathetic magic and the influence of unseen forces that permeated all of Egyptian magical practice. If the heart was the seat of emotion and will, then substances or rituals could be used to directly affect that heart, to stir passion, to rekindle affection, or to compel desire. It was a belief that love, like illness, could be manipulated through magical means, a powerful tool for those yearning for connection or reconciliation. It's like trying to get someone to fall in love with you by sending them a very specific, very potent, and possibly illegal emoji. This deep-seated belief that the heart itself needed to be cured or soothed led to a fascinating array of practices, a blend of magic, ritual, and practical wisdom. They didn't have antidepressants or therapy sessions, but they had their own unique ways of attempting to heal the invisible wounds of the soul. These were not just symbolic gestures. They were perceived as genuine medical and spiritual interventions, designed to restore balance to the most vital organ of all your aching, shattered heart. Let's delve into some of the specific practices. Love potions were often complex concoctions, blending various ingredients, each believed to possess specific magical properties related to love, desire, or control. These might include herbs known for their aphrodisiac qualities, such as mandrake or lotus, but also more unsettling elements. Animal parts, like the blood of a dove symbolizing love or the bones of a specific bird, might be incorporated. Even bodily fluids, such as menstrual blood or urine, were sometimes used, believed to create a powerful, intimate bond. You've just begun to understand the profound depth of heartbreak in ancient Egypt, a pain they recognized as a serious affliction of the soul. Now, we're going to dive even deeper into why this was the case, exploring the very core of their understanding of human existence, the heart. For the ancient Egyptians, your heart wasn't just a muscle pumping blood, it was the ultimate organ, the very seat of your intellect, your memory, your personality, your conscience, and most importantly, novice, your emotions. When your heart ached, it wasn't merely a feeling, it was a fundamental disruption of your entire being. You would be instructed to prepare or administer this potion to the object of your desire. Perhaps it would be mixed into their food or drink, consumed unknowingly. The taste might be strange, the appearance unsettling, but the hope that it would ignite their passion would drive you forward. The belief was that by ingesting these magically charged ingredients, the desired individual's heart would be compelled to feel affection for you, their will subtly bent by the potion's power. Imagine the meticulous process of mummification. You've heard about the brain being removed and discarded, perhaps through the nostrils. But the heart? Oh no. The heart was carefully preserved, often left in place or sometimes removed, embalmed, and then meticulously placed back inside the body. This wasn't just a practical step, it was a profound spiritual necessity. For the Egyptians, the heart was the only organ that truly needed to accompany you into the afterlife because it was there, in the Hall of Two Truths, that your heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. Your eternal destiny hinged on the purity of your heart. A common historical fact is that numerous ancient Egyptian papyri contain recipes for love spells and potions, detailing specific ingredients and rituals. These texts provide a fascinating glimpse into the everyday concerns of people seeking to influence matters of the heart, from attracting new lovers to ensuring fidelity within a marriage. This belief system permeated every aspect of their understanding of health and well-being. If your heart was the center of your intellect, then a heavy heart wasn't just sadness. It could impair your judgment, cloud your thoughts, and make you unable to perform your duties. If it was the seat of your memory, then a broken heart could literally mean a fragmentation of your past. A struggle to recall happy moments now overshadowed by pain. Your very identity, your sense of self, was intrinsically tied to the state of this vital organ. Beyond potions, love charms were also widely used. These were often small and portable objects, imbued with magical power through specific rituals and incantations. They might be carved amulets depicting deities of love like Hathor, or symbols of fertility and desire. They could be made from specific materials, such as carnelian associated with passion or gold symbolizing eternity. Consider the medical papyri, ancient texts that detail Egyptian medical knowledge. While they describe physical ailments with remarkable precision for their time, they also frequently refer to conditions of the heart that encompass emotional distress. A physician might diagnose a heart that is sick, not from a physical ailment, but from a profound melancholy or a persistent anxiety. The treatment, therefore, yours wouldn't just be a physical remedy. It would often involve incantations, rituals, or soothing substances aimed at calming the heart and restoring its spiritual balance. You might be instructed to wear this charm close to your body, or to place it in a strategic location, perhaps under the pillow of the person you desired, or hidden in their home. The charm was believed to radiate an aura of attraction, to subtly draw the beloved towards you, or to protect your relationship from external interference. It was a constant, silent, magical worker, tirelessly influencing the currents of affection. You might hear a physician speak of the channels of the heart, pathways through which not just blood, but also emotions and thoughts flowed. If these channels became blocked or corrupted by sorrow, by anger, or by unfulfilled desires, then illness would surely follow. This holistic view meant that a broken heart wasn't just an emotional problem, it was a medical emergency, threatening the entire intricate system of your body and soul. It's like your modern-day understanding of stress impacting physical health, but with a lot more emphasis on the literal organ and its spiritual connections. A lesser-known detail is the use of binding spells in love magic, which were not always about attraction, but sometimes about preventing a lover from leaving or ensuring their fidelity. These spells might involve tying knots in a cord while reciting incantations, symbolizing the binding of the person's will or affection. Or a wax figure of the unfaithful lover might be pierced with pins, believed to cause them pain until they returned or remained loyal. This darker side of love magic highlights the desperate desire for control and the fear of abandonment. It's like trying to get your ex back by constantly tagging them in old photos. But with a lot more mystical coercion, the Egyptians had specific words and hieroglyphs for various emotional states, all connected to the heart. The word ib or ab was the most common term for the heart, but it also encompassed the mind, will, and conscience. When they spoke of listening to one's heart, they meant following one's conscience and inner wisdom. To have a heart meant to be compassionate. To lose one's heart meant to lose courage or hope. This linguistic richness underscores how deeply embedded the heart's emotional significance was in their culture. Historians still debate the ethical implications of these love potions and charms. While some might view them as harmless attempts to influence fate, others see them as a form of magical coercion, violating the free will of the target. Did the Egyptians consider it ethical to magically compel someone's affection? Or was it simply a pragmatic approach to a difficult emotional problem? It's a complex question that touches on ancient morality and the nature of consent. A common historical fact is that the Egyptians believed the heart was the only internal organ preserved during mummification, because it was essential for the soul's journey in the afterlife. Other organs, like the lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines, were removed and placed in canopic jars, but the heart was usually left in the body, or meticulously wrapped and placed back, ready for the judgment of Osiris. This singular focus on the heart highlights its unparalleled importance in their spiritual and emotional cosmology. You might observe the meticulous preparation of these magical items. The practitioner would carefully select ingredients, often according to astrological timings or specific phases of the moon, believing that these celestial influences enhanced the potion's potency. The incantations would be recited with solemnity and precision, each word believed to carry immense power, transforming mundane ingredients into potent magical tools. Think about the sheer terror of the weighing of the heart ceremony. After death, your heart would be placed on a scale, balanced against the feather of Maat. If your heart was light, free from the weight of sin and sorrow, you would pass into the field of reeds, their paradise. But if your heart was heavy, burdened by misdeeds or unconfessed emotional turmoil, it would be devoured by Ammit, the devourer of the dead, a terrifying beast with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. This wasn't just a myth, it was a literal, terrifying prospect that shaped how you lived your life and managed your emotions. The desperation that drove people to seek out love potions and charms was immense. Unrequited love, the pain of separation, or the fear of loneliness could be as debilitating as any physical illness. When all conventional means failed, magic offered a final, powerful recourse, a way to reclaim agency in matters of the heart that felt utterly beyond control. This belief meant that emotional suffering, like especially chronic heartbreak, wasn't just a personal burden, it was a spiritual liability. A heart heavy with grief or resentment might be too heavy for the scales of Maat. Therefore, alleviating heartbreak wasn't just about feeling better in this life, it was about securing your eternal salvation. This added an immense spiritual urgency to the quest for emotional healing. Think about the psychological impact on the person using the charm or potion. The very act of engaging in such a powerful ritual, of believing that you were actively influencing another's heart, could instill a profound sense of hope and confidence. This belief, whether or not the magic actually worked on the target, could alter your own demeanor, making you more attractive or assertive, and thus, inadvertently, influencing the outcome. It's like wearing a lucky outfit to a date. It might not change the other person, but it definitely changes how you feel about yourself. A lesser-known detail is the Egyptian concept of the heart soul, or Bei. While the Ka was your life force, and the Ak was your transfigured spirit, the Ba was your personality, your individuality, often depicted as a human-headed bird that could leave the tomb and interact with the living world. The ba was intimately connected to the heart, reflecting your unique character and emotional makeup. A broken heart, therefore, implied a wounded ba, a diminished sense of self that needed to be restored. It's like your modern-day inner child, but with wings and a much more serious afterlife itinerary. The use of curse tablets, or deficciones, could also be adapted for love magic, though this crossed into more malevolent territory. If a rival was stealing your beloved, you might commission a tablet inscribed with a curse designed to cause them misfortune, or to turn their affections away from your rival and towards you. These were not about healing, but about manipulation and revenge, highlighting the darker side of human desire. Historians still debate whether the Egyptian emphasis on the heart as the seat of intellect and emotion hindered their anatomical understanding of the brain. Did their religious and philosophical beliefs about the heart prevent them from exploring the brain's functions more deeply? Or was their understanding simply limited by the tools and knowledge available at the time? It's a fascinating question about how cultural beliefs can shape scientific inquiry. You might see practitioners using dream magic in conjunction with love potions. They might instruct you to consume a potion before sleep, with the intention of appearing in your beloved's dreams, influencing their subconscious thoughts and desires. The dream realm, being a liminal space, was believed to be particularly susceptible to magical influence. Hey guys, tonight we're drifting back, way back, to the sun-drenched lands of ancient Egypt, a place of pharaohs, pyramids, and powerful gods. But we're not here to talk about mummies or curses. Tonight, we're going to explore something far more universal, something that transcends time and empire, the human heart. Specifically, what ancient Egypt used to cure the ache of a broken heart. Imagine yourself there, the scorching desert wind whipping around you, the scent of incense heavy in the air, but inside a cold, hollow space where joy used to live. Your world might be filled with wonders, but your spirit is crushed by loss, by unrequited love, or by a betrayal that feels like a physical wound. Let's just say modern therapy wasn't exactly on the menu back then, so you probably wouldn't have survived the emotional turmoil unscathed. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as you settle in, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The secrecy surrounding these practices was often intense. While some love charms might have been openly worn, the preparation and administration of potent love potions or binding spells were often clandestine, conducted away from prying eyes. This secrecy added to their mystique and power, reinforcing the idea that they dealt with hidden, powerful forces. You might observe the emphasis on speaking truth to your heart. In rituals and daily life, Egyptians were encouraged to be honest with themselves, to confront their emotions, and to express their feelings. This wasn't just about social etiquette. It was believed to keep the heart pure and light, ready for its ultimate judgment. Suppressing emotions, allowing resentment or sorrow to fester, was seen as a dangerous act that could literally weigh down your heart. A common historical fact is that love spells and charms were often highly personalized, incorporating details about the individuals involved, such as their names, their mother's names, or even small personal effects. This personalization was believed to create a stronger magical link, making the spell more effective and targeted. The heart was also seen as the source of wisdom and moral judgment. To have a good heart meant to be righteous and compassionate. To have a bad heart meant to be wicked or deceitful. This moral dimension further elevated the heart's importance, making its emotional state a direct reflection of your character and your spiritual standing. A broken heart, therefore, that could feel like a moral failing, a sign that you had somehow strayed from the path of Ma'at. A lesser-known detail is the use of magical figurines or dolls in love magic, not just as effigies for binding, but as representations of the desired outcome. A practitioner might create two small figures, one representing you and one representing your beloved, and then perform rituals to bring them together, perhaps by tying them with a red thread or placing them in a specific embrace. This visual representation was believed to manifest the desired reality. It's like playing with action figures, but with actual magical intent for your love life? Consider the role of scribes and priests in documenting and interpreting emotional states. They would meticulously record dreams, omens, and the symptoms of emotional distress, often attributing them to imbalances of the heart. Their knowledge of sacred texts and magical spells was often employed to diagnose and treat these heart ailments. Reflecting the intricate blend of spiritual and medical practice, historians still debate the extent to which these love potions and charms were effective. While direct magical compulsion is unlikely, the placebo effect, the psychological changes in the person performing the magic, and even the subtle behavioral shifts influenced by their renewed hope, could have inadvertently led to desired outcomes. It's a fascinating interplay of belief, psychology, and social dynamics. The physical location of the heart in the chest, its rhythmic beating, and its immediate reaction to strong emotions pounding with fear, racing with excitement, aching with sorrow would have reinforced the belief in its central role. The Egyptians were keen observers of the body, and these tangible physical sensations would have provided compelling evidence for their theories. You might observe the practitioner providing not just the potion or charm, but also specific instructions on how to use it, what to say, and when to apply it. The ritualistic precision was believed to be crucial for the magic to work, emphasizing the importance of adherence and intention. You might see depictions of the heart in art and hieroglyphs, often stylized as a jar or a vessel, emphasizing its role as a container for your essence. These visual representations would have constantly reminded you of the heart's profound significance, both in life and in the journey to the afterlife. The consequences of these practices, when they failed or went wrong, could be severe. If a love potion didn't work, it could lead to deeper despair. If a binding spell was perceived to backfire, it could lead to fear of magical retaliation. The stakes were high, as emotions were deeply intertwined with magical belief. The concept of heart scarabs is another powerful testament to this belief. During mummification, if the actual heart was removed or damaged, a stone scarab amulet, often inscribed with a spell from the Book of the Dead, chapter 30b, would be placed over the heart region. This spell implored the heart not to testify against the deceased during the weighing of the heart ceremony. It was a magical safeguard, a desperate plea to ensure a favorable judgment for the most vital organ. It's like having a prenuptial agreement for your soul, just in case your heart decides to spill all your secrets. The very existence of these love potions and charms highlights the profound human desire for connection, for love, and for control over the most unpredictable of human emotions. In a world where relationships were often dictated by social norms and practicalities, magic offered a way to intervene, to assert individual will, and to pursue personal desires. A common historical fact is that the heart was one of the few organs often left in the body during mummification, unlike the brain, which was typically removed and discarded. This practice underscores the profound spiritual and emotional significance the Egyptians placed on the heart as the essential organ for the individual's existence in the afterlife. So, as you slowly drift away from this intriguing chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, love potions and charms were not mere folklore. They were potent tools born from a desperate yearning to influence the heart, to attract affection, and to mend the pain of unrequited or lost love. You realize that, even in the land of the pharaohs, the complexities of human relationships and the depths of desire often led people to seek magical intervention, hoping to craft their own romantic destiny. You've just explored the intriguing, and sometimes ethically complex, world of love potions and charms, where human desire sought to bend the will of others through magic. Now, as your heart still aches with the persistent pain of loss or unrequited affection, you're about to discover a more profound and culturally central source of solace for the ancient Egyptians' divine intervention. Prepare yourself to understand how they appealed directly to specific gods and goddesses, seeking their direct aid for emotional healing, comfort, and the restoration of a shattered spirit. A lesser-known detail is the Egyptian belief that the heart could wander or become lost due to severe emotional trauma or magical interference. This concept of a dislocated heart was a literal interpretation of profound emotional distress, and the remedies would involve rituals to recall or recenter the heart, bringing it back into proper alignment within the body and soul. It's like your emotional compass getting completely spun around, and you need a spiritual GPS to find your way back. Imagine yourself in the cool, echoing halls of a grand temple, the air thick with the scent of burning incense and the murmur of prayers. Your personal pain feels immense, overwhelming, but you believe that the gods, those powerful beings who govern the cosmos, are capable of understanding and alleviating even the deepest human suffering. You approach a priest or priestess, their robes flowing, their faces serene, and you pour out your heart, not just to them, but through them, to the divine. You are seeking a direct line to the heavens, a plea for celestial comfort when earthly remedies have failed. Historians still debate the extent to which the Egyptian understanding of the heart, despite its anatomical inaccuracies regarding the brain, provided a psychologically effective framework for coping with emotional suffering. Did their holistic view, which integrated physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being, offer a more comprehensive approach to mental health than some later, more reductionist, medical models? It's a fascinating question about the efficacy of ancient belief systems. The logic behind appealing to deities for emotional healing was fundamental to the Egyptian worldview. The gods were not distant, abstract concepts. They were active participants in daily life, influencing everything from the flooding of the Nile to the beating of your own heart. If your heart was broken, it was because the delicate balance of Mahat had been disturbed, or perhaps because a malevolent force was at play, or even that a specific deity was testing your faith. Therefore, the most direct and powerful solution was to appeal to the very beings who held sway over these forces, to ask for their divine grace and intervention. It's like calling customer service for your soul, but instead of holding music, you get the gentle hum of cosmic power. You might observe the emphasis on maintaining Mahat in your daily life, living in truth, balance, and cosmic order. This wasn't just a philosophical ideal, it was believed to directly impact the health of your heart. Engaging in righteous conduct, speaking truthfully, and maintaining harmony in your relationships were all seen as ways to keep your heart pure and light, ready for its ultimate journey. Let's delve into the specific deities to whom you might appeal. Hathor, the radiant goddess of love, beauty, music, dance, and joy, was a primary patron of those suffering from heartbreak. Her temples were vibrant places filled with song and celebration, designed to uplift the spirit. If your heart was heavy with sorrow from lost love or a relationship gone sour, you would offer prayers, make offerings of flowers or perfumed oils, and perhaps even sing hymns in her honor. You would appeal to her to rekindle passion, to soothe your pain, to bring joy back into your life. Her gentle, bovine face, often depicted with cow horns and a sun disk, radiated compassion and comfort. The ritualistic nature of their society, from daily prayers to elaborate festivals, also served to reinforce emotional and spiritual well-being. These communal activities provided a sense of belonging, purpose, and connection to the divine, all of which could act as powerful antidotes to the isolation and despair of a broken heart. Isis, the great mother goddess, mistress of magic, healing, and rebirth, was another powerful ally for a broken heart. If your grief stemmed from the death of a loved one, you would turn to Isis, who famously mourned and resurrected her husband Osiris. You would appeal to her to guide your loved ones safely through the underworld, and to bring solace to your own grieving heart. Her magic was believed to be potent enough to mend even the most shattered spirit, offering hope for continuity and rebirth in the face of profound loss. Her image, often nursing her son Horus, symbolized nurturing and healing. The very act of expressing grief, through lamentation and mourning rituals, was encouraged. This wasn't seen as a weakness, but as a necessary process for the heart to release its burden. Suppressing grief would only make the heart heavier, jeopardizing its journey in the afterlife. This emphasis on outward expression provided a healthy outlet for overwhelming emotions. You might also appeal to Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and magic. If your heartbreak was accompanied by confusion, a sense of being lost, or an inability to articulate your feelings, you would seek Thoth's guidance. You might write down your woes on a piece of papyrus, offering it to him, and ask for clarity of thought, for the wisdom to understand your suffering, and for the magical insight to find a path forward. Thoth, with his ibis head, was seen as the divine scribe, capable of ordering chaotic thoughts and bringing understanding. So, As you slowly drift away from this profound chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, the heart was far more than just a biological organ. It was the sacred vessel of your soul, the seat of your intellect, memory, and every emotion you possessed. A broken heart wasn't just a metaphor, it was a literal, devastating affliction of your very essence, threatening your well-being in this life and your eternal destiny in the next. This deep-seated belief shaped every aspect of their approach to emotional suffering, making the healing of the heart the most vital quest of all. The appeals to these deities were not just passive prayers, they were often active, ritualistic engagements. You might perform specific gestures, prostrate yourself before their statues, or participate in elaborate temple ceremonies. The priests and priestesses would act as intermediaries, guiding you through the correct rituals, reciting sacred texts on your behalf, and interpreting the signs of divine favor. The act of participation itself was a powerful form of emotional release and spiritual connection. Now, with your own heart heavy from loss or unrequited love, where do you turn for solace in a world devoid of psychotherapy or antidepressants? The ancient Egyptians turned to a powerful and mysterious ally magic. Prepare yourself to explore the spells and magical rituals used to mend a broken heart or rekindle lost affection. A common historical fact is that Egyptian temples were not just places of worship, but also centers for healing, where individuals sought divine intervention for both physical and emotional ailments. Priests and priestesses often acted as healers, providing remedies that blended medical knowledge with spiritual rituals and appeals to specific deities. Imagine yourself in an ancient temple, or perhaps a small incense-filled chamber fragrant with lotus blossoms. Your grief is overwhelming. Your lamentations have run dry, and the comfort of your family cannot soothe the wound in your soul. You seek out a priest, a wise person, or someone capable of communing with the gods in the spirit world. They look at you with understanding eyes, without judgment, and begin to speak of incantations, ancient whispers that hold the power to alter reality, even to heal a shattered heart. Offerings were a crucial part of the appeal. You wouldn't come empty-handed. You would bring offerings of food, drink, flowers, incense, or even small, intricately crafted figurines representing your heart's desire. These offerings were not just gifts. They were symbolic exchanges, a way to show your devotion and to create a reciprocal relationship with the divine, hoping that your generosity would be met with their compassion. The logic behind using magic to mend a broken heart stemmed from the belief that emotions were not merely internal reactions. They were entities that could be influenced by external forces, both divine and malevolent. If love could be bestowed by a god, it could also be snatched away by a curse or the interference of a malevolent spirit. And if a heart was wounded, it was due to an energetic imbalance, a disruption in the flow of your Ka life force or Ba soul personality. To heal, you needed a potent intervention, a reordering of unseen forces. A lesser-known detail is the use of divine dreams as a form of direct communication from the gods regarding emotional distress. Building on the practice of dream incubation, you might specifically appeal to a deity like Bes, a protective household god associated with childbirth and dreams, or Imhotep, a deified physician before sleeping in a temple's incubation chamber. The hope was that the deity would appear in your dream, offering direct advice, a symbolic message, or even a miraculous healing touch for your broken heart. It's like getting a direct message from a deity on your spiritual Instagram, but with more symbolic imagery and less immediate replies. Let's begin with spells to rekindle lost love or attract new affection. You might be instructed to write the name of your beloved on a piece of papyrus, along with your own, and then recite a specific incantation while burning it. The ashes would be scattered into a drink, and the object of your desire would consume it, with the belief that their affections would be stirred. Alternatively, you might be asked to create a small wax effigy of your beloved, inscribing their name upon it, and then reciting spells to bind their heart to yours. These actions were not merely symbolic, they were considered real magical acts, creating an unseen link between you and the one you desired. Historians still debate whether the perceived effectiveness of divine intervention for emotional healing was primarily due to the powerful placebo effect, the psychological comfort of surrendering to a higher power, or the social support provided by the temple community. Was it the gods themselves who healed, or was it the profound human experience of faith and ritual that brought solace? It's a complex question, as the boundaries between spiritual belief and psychological well-being are often fluid. You might feel a strange sense of hope as you perform these rituals. While you know there are no guarantees, the act of doing something, no matter how strange, offers a sense of control in a situation where you feel utterly helpless. The whispers of the incantation, the scent of the burning incense, the focus on your objective. All of these create an immersive experience that can temporarily soothe your pain. You might observe the priests interpreting omens or signs from the gods, perhaps the flight of birds, the patterns of smoke from an incense burner, or the words of a trance-induced oracle. These interpretations would provide further guidance, reinforcing the divine message and directing your actions towards healing. The gods were constantly communicating, and it was the role of the priesthood to decipher their will. A common historical fact is that ancient Egyptians possessed a rich collection of love spells and charms documented on papyri and magical artifacts. These spells were used not only to attract love, but also to resolve relationship issues, such as a spouse's coldness or infidelity. This indicates that love and relationships were a significant area where they sought magical intervention. The emphasis on divine justice, or ma'at, also played a role in emotional healing. If your heartbreak stemmed from an injustice, a betrayal, or an unrequited love that felt unfair, you might appeal to the gods for justice. The belief that the divine order would eventually prevail, that wrongs would be righted, could bring a profound sense of peace and allow you to release resentment, a heavy burden on the heart. Now, let's turn to mending a broken heart. If you are suffering from loss or separation, the spells would focus on alleviating the pain, driving away sorrowful spirits, and restoring balance to your heart. You might be instructed to recite a specific incantation at night, under the moonlight, while holding a sacred object to your chest. The spell might invoke deities like Isis, the goddess of healing and magic, or Osiris, the god of rebirth, to help you overcome your grief. Consider the hymns and prayers specifically composed for emotional distress. These weren't just rote recitations. They were often deeply personal, poetic appeals to the gods, expressing profound sorrow, yearning, and hope. You would chant these words, allowing their rhythm and meaning to wash over you, connecting your individual pain to a universal spiritual language. These incantations often contained vivid imagery and emotional appeals. They might speak of binding together the fragments of your heart, driving away the shadows of sorrow, or bringing back the light of joy. The language of magic was not just a means to an end. It was itself part of the healing process, offering comfort and a sense of being understood. It's like listening to a beautiful, sad song when you're heartbroken. It doesn't fix the problem, but it makes you feel less alone. The power of divine blessings was also sought. A priest might perform a blessing over you, or over an amulet you wore, invoking the power of a specific deity to imbue you with strength, comfort, and emotional resilience. This ritualistic blessing was believed to transfer divine energy directly to your heart, helping it to mend and become whole again. A lesser-known detail is the use of magical papyri or charms for healing a broken heart. These were small pieces of papyrus inscribed with spells, symbols, and drawings of deities. You might be instructed to roll them up, tie them with a specific thread, and then wear them as an amulet on your chest, close to your heart. The belief was that these sacred words and images would permeate your soul, alleviating your pain and protecting your heart from further harm. It's like a tiny spiritual pill you carry with you always. You might see individuals making pilgrimages to specific temples or sacred sites known for their healing powers, particularly for matters of the heart. The arduous journey itself, the act of devotion, and the anticipation of divine intervention would all contribute to a heightened spiritual state, making you more receptive to solace upon arrival. Historians still debate whether these spells and rituals were truly effective in mending broken hearts. Beyond the placebo effect and the psychological comfort they provided, was it the belief in the magic that healed? Or were these ritualistic actions simply a way for people to cope with unavoidable pain? It's a complex question, as the line between belief, psychology, and reality is often blurred. A common historical fact is that personal piety and direct appeals to deities were a significant aspect of ancient Egyptian religion, particularly for common people. While pharaohs and priests engaged in grand state rituals, Individuals often had personal shrines or would visit local temples to make direct requests to the gods for health, prosperity, and emotional well-being. You might see more complex rituals involving the use of specific items. A priest might instruct you to collect water from the Nile at a specific time, then mix it with ritualistic herbs and use it to wash your body, or sprinkle it over an object connected to your beloved. The Nile water, considered the source of all life, would be believed to cleanse sorrow and bring renewal. A lesser-known detail is the use of divine decrees or oracular responses for emotional problems. In some cases, questions about love or heartbreak would be posed to a deity through an oracle, and the god's response, often delivered through a priest in a trance or through the movement of a cult statue, would be considered a direct divine command or prophecy. This provided absolute clarity and direction for the heartbroken individual, leaving no room for doubt. It's like getting a definitive yes or no from a divine chatbot, but with way more incense and less loading time. These rituals were often performed at specific times, such as dusk or dawn, or during particular phases of the moon, believed to enhance their magical potency. This adherence to cosmic cycles reflected the belief that human emotions and human destiny were intertwined with the rhythms of the universe. Historians still debate the extent to which the Egyptian pantheon, with its diverse array of gods and goddesses, provided a more comprehensive and nuanced framework for addressing the full spectrum of human emotions compared to monotheistic religions. Did having specific deities for love, healing, and wisdom offer more targeted avenues for emotional solace? It's a fascinating question about the psychological utility of polytheism. The involvement of deities was crucial. You wouldn't just recite spells emptily, you would invoke specific gods and goddesses known for their associations with love, healing, or protection. Hathor, the goddess of love, music, and joy, was often called upon to bring love or soothe its pain. Thoth, the god of wisdom and magic, might be implored to help you understand your grief and find a path forward. You might observe the profound sense of peace that descended upon those who believed they had received a divine message or blessing. The anxiety would dissipate, the sorrow would lighten, and a renewed sense of hope would fill their hearts. This transformation, whether truly miraculous or psychologically induced, was a powerful testament to the enduring human need for spiritual connection in times of despair. Think about the psychological relief of having an outlet for your pain. In a world where emotions were seen as tangible forces, having a ritual to expel sorrow or attract joy could be incredibly powerful. It offered a sense of control, a concrete action you could take when feeling helpless. It's like writing all your feelings down in a journal and then burning it, a ritualistic act of releasing pain. Spells could also be used to protect your heart from future harm. If you had been betrayed, you might seek a spell to seal your heart against deceit or to ward off ill-intentioned individuals. These spells were not just prayers, they were magical shields, believed to create an invisible barrier around your vulnerable heart. The use of symbols and imagery was also vital. Spells were often accompanied by the drawing or carving of specific symbols, such as the Ankh, the symbol of life, or images of protective deities. These symbols were believed to hold magical power of their own, enhancing the efficacy of the incantation. The belief that the gods were compassionate and responsive to human suffering was a cornerstone of their appeal. You wouldn't turn to a deity who was indifferent or punitive. You would seek out those known for their benevolence and their willingness to intervene in human affairs. This perception of divine empathy made the act of appeal a comforting and hopeful one. You might see ancient Egyptians using charms or magical objects passed down through generations. These items, believed to have been imbued with power over time, would be utilized in rituals to mend the heart. They were tangible objects of hope, carrying the history of past successes. So, as you slowly drift away from this chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, divine intervention was not a last resort, but often the primary and most powerful avenue for healing a broken heart. Their appeals to specific gods and goddesses, through elaborate rituals, heartfelt prayers, and sacred offerings, provided profound emotional comfort, guidance, and a deep spiritual connection in a world where human suffering was seen as intimately linked to the divine. You realize that, even in the land of the pharaohs, the ultimate cure for despair often lay in the compassionate embrace of the gods. The belief in the power of the spoken word was immense. Ancient Egyptians believed that words had creative power, that speaking something into existence could make it real. Therefore, reciting a spell was not just saying words, it was a creative act, an attempt to reshape your reality through the power of language. You've just appealed to the gods, seeking their compassionate embrace to mend your broken heart, a testament to the profound spiritual connection that defined ancient Egyptian life. Now, as your journey through their unique approach to emotional healing nears its conclusion, you're about to discover perhaps the most enduring and comforting remedy of all the power of memory and legacy. Prepare yourself to understand how the emphasis on the afterlife, the meticulous preservation of the deceased, and the unwavering commitment to remembrance offered profound solace for even the most devastating loss. Historians still debate the role of magical practitioners in Egyptian society. Were they seen as legitimate healers, or were they viewed with suspicion as charlatans? Perhaps, like cunning folk in other cultures, they occupied a liminal space between respect and distrust, sought out in times of greatest desperation. Imagine yourself standing before a grand tomb, perhaps carved into the cliffs of the Valley of the Kings, or a modest mastaba in a desert necropolis. The air is dry, still filled with the echoes of centuries. Your heart still aches with the absence of a loved one. But as you gaze upon the intricate carvings, the vibrant paintings, and the carefully preserved mummy within, a different kind of peace begins to settle over you. This isn't just a burial place, it's a permanent home, a vibrant testament to a life lived and a promise of eternal continuity. You might see distressed individuals seeking out priests and temples, who had access to more complex rituals and more potent spells. These rituals might involve making offerings to deities, or performing symbolic actions within the temple grounds, all aimed at attracting divine favor for heart healing. The logic behind this emphasis on memory and legacy was fundamental to the Egyptian concept of existence. Death was not seen as an end, but as a transition to another, equally real realm. To truly die, in their view, was to be forgotten, to be remembered, to have your name spoken, your deeds recounted, and your image preserved. That was to live forever. Therefore, for the grieving heart, the act of ensuring a loved one's eternal memory was not just an act of devotion, it was an active contribution to their continued existence, a powerful antidote to the finality of loss. It's like creating a really elaborate, permanent social media profile for your loved one, ensuring they're always trending in the afterlife. The emphasis on purifying the heart was also a common theme. If your heart was heavy with sorrow or bitterness, rituals might involve the use of sacred water or incense smoke to cleanse the heart, removing negative emotions and restoring its purity. This was not just a metaphor, it was a real attempt to wash the soul clean. Let's delve into the specific practices that embodied this power of memory. The meticulous process of mummification, which we touched upon earlier, was paramount. It wasn't just about preserving the body, it was about preserving the physical vessel for the Ka life force and Ba soul personality to return to. By ensuring the body's integrity, you were guaranteeing your loved one's ability to exist and thrive in the afterlife. This tangible act of preservation offered immense comfort to the bereaved, a concrete way to fight against the ultimate separation. Ultimately, these spells were not just about healing pain, they were about restoring Mahat in your life. If your heart was broken, then your balance and order were disrupted. The spells were an attempt to reorder that balance, to bring you back into harmony with the cosmos, ensuring your heart would be light when it came time for the weighing. You might spend countless hours overseeing the embalmers, ensuring every detail was perfect, every linen wrap meticulously placed. The scent of natron, resins, and oils would become intimately associated with this period of profound grief, yet also with the profound hope of eternal life. This active participation in the preservation process was a deeply personal and therapeutic act, a way to channel your sorrow into meaningful action. So, as you drift through this chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, magic was not mere superstition, but a potent and legitimate tool for healing the unseen wounds of the heart. These spells and rituals offered not just hope and psychological comfort, but were perceived as genuine attempts to reorder cosmic forces and restore balance to your most vital organ. You realize that, even in the world of pharaohs and pyramids, the pain of a broken heart required its own kind of magic to be mended. The preparation of amulets often involved specific rituals. A priest or artisan might recite incantations or perform purification ceremonies to imbue the amulet with power. The amulet might be left under moonlight or sunlight to absorb cosmic energy. These rituals were not just ceremonial. They were believed to be crucial for activating the amulet's magical potency. Then there were the tombs themselves. These were not mere graves. They were eternal homes, meticulously decorated and provisioned for the deceased's journey and eternal sustenance. The walls were covered with vibrant paintings depicting scenes from the deceased's life, their family, their achievements, and their journey through the underworld. For the living, visiting these tombs and contemplating these images was a powerful way to reconnect with their loved one, to remember their life story, and to find solace in the beauty and continuity of their existence. It was a visual narrative of hope, a reminder that death was not the end. You might see amulets worn by everyone, from simple farmers to wealthy nobles. Their widespread popularity indicates a pervasive belief in their power, regardless of social status. They were an essential part of the Egyptian emotional healing toolkit. A common historical fact is that the Egyptians believed that to speak the name of the dead was to make them live again. This belief fueled the practice of inscribing names on monuments, statues, and papyri. It was a powerful act of remembrance, ensuring that the deceased's essence continued to resonate in the world of the living. For a grieving family, simply uttering their loved one's name was a small yet profound act of keeping their memory alive, a constant source of comfort. Amulets could also be used to ward off ill wishers or curses that might exacerbate your emotional pain. If you believed your heartbreak was due to a curse or a malicious word, an amulet could act as a shield, deflecting negative energy and keeping your heart safe. The funerary cults and offerings were another crucial aspect of this legacy. Families would regularly visit the tombs, bringing offerings of food, drink, and incense to sustain the ka of the deceased. These were not just symbolic gestures. They were believed to be essential for the deceased's well-being in the afterlife. For the living, these acts of continued care and devotion provided a tangible way to express enduring love and to maintain a connection with their loved one, transforming grief into an ongoing relationship. A common historical fact is that numerous amulets were found in Egyptian tombs, placed on the bodies of the deceased to protect them on their journey to the afterlife and ensure their regeneration. This underscores the Egyptian belief in the enduring power of amulets, not just in life but in death. You might participate in these regular rituals, pouring libations, placing fresh bread and beer on the offering table, and reciting prayers. The act of tending to the deceased's needs in the afterlife provided a sense of purpose and continuity, alleviating the helplessness of loss. It was a way to continue nurturing and loving, even across the veil of death. A lesser-known detail is the use of cross amulets as a way to mend a broken heart. These amulets were made by creating a cross shape from two pieces of material, often wood or metal. The cross was believed to symbolize the intersection of cosmic forces and could be used to balance the chaotic emotions within the heart. It's like drawing a Venn diagram of your feelings and then wearing it as a necklace. A lesser-known detail is the practice of ancestor busts or ancestor portraits kept in homes. These were small, often stylized, representations of deceased family members placed in a prominent spot in the living quarters. Families would offer small prayers or offerings to these busts, seeking guidance or simply maintaining a daily connection with their ancestors. This brought the presence of the deceased directly into the daily life of the living, offering continuous comfort and a sense of enduring family bonds. It's like having a framed photo of your loved one on your mantelpiece, but with the added belief that they're actively listening to your daily complaints. Historians still debate the role of amulets in maintaining social order. Did they provide a safe outlet for emotional pain, preventing outbreaks of despair or violence? Or were they simply a way to reinforce belief in an established magical system? It's a complex question about the relationship between individual belief and social function. Historians still debate whether the elaborate nature of Egyptian funerary practices primarily served to ease the grief of the living, or if their main purpose was to ensure the deceased's successful transition to the afterlife and maintain cosmic order. Was it a sophisticated form of ancient grief therapy, or a deeply ingrained religious imperative? It's likely both, as the Egyptians saw no clear distinction between the spiritual well-being of the living and the dead, you might be instructed to wear a specific amulet for a certain period, or to perform a specific ritual with it periodically. Adherence to these instructions was crucial, as it was believed to enhance the amulet's power and ensure its effectiveness. The very concept of the Field of Reeds, the Egyptian paradise, offered immense solace. This was not a vague, abstract heaven, but a tangible, idyllic landscape where the deceased would live eternally, free from suffering, reunited with their loved ones, and enjoying all the pleasures of life. For the grieving, the belief that their loved one was in such a beautiful and peaceful place, thriving and content, was a powerful antidote to despair. The sheer variety of amulets also reflected the diversity of heartbreaks. There were amulets for lost love, amulets for betrayal, amulets for grief. Each was designed to target a specific facet of emotional pain, offering a tailored solution. You might hear stories of the deceased returning in dreams, or of their spirits offering guidance or comfort. These experiences, whether literal or psychological, reinforced the belief in the continuity of life and the enduring connection between the living and the dead. The deceased were not truly gone. They were simply in another realm, still accessible through memory and spiritual connection. Ultimately, amulets were not just magical objects. They were also deeply symbolic artifacts. They represented hope, resilience, and a belief in a better future. Even if their magical power was doubted, the symbolic meaning and psychological comfort they provided were undeniable. The emphasis on living a righteous life, adhering to Mawat, was also deeply connected to the afterlife and, by extension, to coping with loss. By living a life of truth and justice, you ensured a favorable judgment for your own heart in the afterlife. And you also honored the legacy of those who had passed. This moral framework provided a sense of purpose and meaning, even in the face of profound grief. So, as you drift through this chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, amulets of affection and protection were not mere adornments. They were potent tools for mending broken hearts, imbued with divine and magical power. They offered comfort, protection, and a sense of control in a world where emotional pain could feel overwhelming. You realize that, even in the world of pharaohs and pyramids, a small object could carry a great weight of hope and healing. You've explored the tangible comfort of amulets, those small, powerful objects that offered protection and healing to a broken heart. Now, as your journey through ancient Egyptian emotional remedies continues, you're about to step into the realm of the subconscious, a place where the veil between worlds thins and divine wisdom can be sought. Prepare yourself to understand the practice of dream incubation, where you would actively seek guidance from the gods or your ancestors through dreams, hoping to find solace and a path to healing for your emotional pain. Consider the role of funerary texts, particularly the Book of the Dead. These collections of spells, hymns, and instructions were placed in tombs to guide the deceased through the perils of the underworld and ensure their successful passage. For the living, the knowledge that their loved one had these powerful texts to aid them would have provided immense reassurance and alleviated anxiety about their eternal fate. It was a spiritual roadmap, ensuring a safe journey. Imagine yourself in a sacred space, perhaps a dedicated dream temple or a quiet, consecrated chamber within a larger temple complex. The sun has set, and the desert night is cool and still. Your heart is still heavy, perhaps with unanswered questions about your lost love, or a lingering sense of confusion about your grief. You've tried the spells, you wear your amulets, but a deeper, more profound insight is needed. You seek out a priest or a specialized dream interpreter who guides you through a ritual designed to open your mind to divine messages during sleep. You might see individuals commissioning statues or stele-carved stone slabs in honor of their deceased loved ones, not just for their tombs, but for public spaces or temples. These monuments served as permanent reminders of the deceased's life and legacy, ensuring their name and deeds would be remembered by future generations. This public act of remembrance was a powerful way to process grief and to ensure that the individual's contribution to society endured. The logic behind dream incubation was rooted in the profound Egyptian belief that dreams were not random neurological events, but direct communications from the gods, from the spirits of the deceased, or from your own higher self. If you were suffering from a profound emotional distress, particularly one that defied conventional understanding, it was believed that the answers, the path to healing, could be revealed to you in a dream. The gods, in their infinite wisdom, could offer comfort, guidance, or even a direct intervention to mend your broken heart. It's like your modern-day journaling, but instead of writing down your thoughts, you're actively inviting divine beings into your sleep cycle for a spiritual consultation. The concept of eternal recurrence, while not explicitly stated, was implicitly present in their worldview. The sun rising each day, the Nile flooding each year, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. All these natural phenomena reinforce the idea that death was not an end, but a transformation, a part of a larger eternal cycle. This cosmic perspective could offer a profound sense of peace to the grieving heart. Let's delve into the specific practices of dream incubation. You would first undergo a period of ritual purification. This might involve fasting, abstaining from certain foods or activities, and performing ritualistic washing. The goal was to cleanse your body and mind, making you a pure vessel, more receptive to divine messages. You might wear special linen garments or be anointed with sacred oils, further preparing you for the spiritual encounter. A common historical fact is that the Egyptians often depicted the deceased in their tombs as youthful and vibrant, even if they died in old age. This was not a denial of reality, but a symbolic representation of their renewed, eternal existence in the afterlife, free from the ravages of age and illness. For the living, these images offered a comforting vision of their loved one's eternal youth and happiness. Then, you would enter the incubation chamber. This might be a small, dark room, perhaps with a statue of a specific deity associated with dreams or healing, like Bez or Imhotep. You would lie down on a simple mat or bed, and a priest might recite specific prayers or incantations over you, inviting the divine presence to visit your dreams. The air might be thick with the scent of burning incense, designed to create a tranquil and spiritually charged atmosphere. A lesser-known detail is the practice of sympathetic magic in relation to the deceased's possessions. Objects that were particularly cherished by the deceased in life, or those that symbolized their identity or profession, would often be placed in the tomb. It was believed that these objects would continue to serve the deceased in the afterlife. And for the living, the act of placing them there was a final, intimate gesture of love and care, a way to ensure their loved one's comfort in the next world. It's like packing your loved one's favorite snacks for their eternal road trip, just in case they get hungry. You would fall asleep with a specific question or intention in your mind. Perhaps you would ask, "Why has my beloved left me?" Or, "How can I overcome this profound grief?" Or, "Will I ever find love again?" The clarity of your intention was crucial, as it was believed to guide the divine message towards your specific need. You would drift into sleep, your mind open, your heart yearning for answers. Historians still debate the extent to which the Egyptian emphasis on the afterlife and elaborate funerary rituals created a healthy or unhealthy relationship with death and grief. Did it provide a robust framework for coping? Or did it sometimes lead to an excessive focus on the deceased, potentially hindering the living from fully moving on? It's a complex question about the cultural construction of grief. A common historical fact is that dream incubation was a widespread practice in ancient Egypt, with dedicated dream temples or sanatoria associated with major cult centers, such as those of Imhotep, a deified physician, or Serapis, a Greco-Egyptian deity. People from all walks of life would visit these sites, seeking divine guidance for a variety of ailments, both physical and emotional. You might observe the profound sense of continuity that permeated Egyptian society. Generations lived and died, but the family line, the community, and the spiritual connection to the ancestors endured. This sense of belonging to a larger, eternal lineage provided a powerful buffer against the isolation and despair of individual loss. The content of the dream itself was paramount. It might not be a direct, literal answer. Instead, it could be symbolic, requiring interpretation. You might dream of an animal, a specific color, a particular landscape, or an interaction with a shadowy figure. Upon waking, you would immediately recount your dream to the priest or dream interpreter. They, with their knowledge of sacred texts, mythology, and symbolic meanings, would help you decipher the message, drawing connections between the dream's imagery and your waking life's emotional turmoil. The very landscape of Egypt, with its eternal Nile and the vast unchanging desert, reinforced the concepts of continuity and rebirth. The sun rose and set each day. The Nile flooded annually, bringing new life to the land. This natural cycle of death and rebirth mirrored their beliefs about the afterlife, offering a powerful metaphor for overcoming loss and finding renewal. A lesser-known detail is the use of specific plants or substances to aid dream incubation. While not always explicitly documented, some scholars suggest that mild psychoactive herbs or sedatives might have been used in certain contexts to enhance the dream state or make the individual more receptive to visions. However, this was likely done with great caution and under strict priestly supervision, as the goal was divine communication, not mere intoxication. It's like trying to get better sleep by listening to a guided meditation, but with added ancient herbs and a direct line to the gods. The emphasis on preparing for your own death also played a role in coping with the death of others. By engaging in funerary preparations for yourself, you were actively confronting your own mortality and the inevitability of loss, which could, paradoxically, make the grief of others more manageable. It was a constant reminder of life's impermanence and the importance of living righteously. Historians still debate whether the perceived successes of dream incubation were due to genuine divine intervention. The powerful placebo effect, the psychological process of working through emotional issues in the subconscious, or simply the natural course of healing over time. Was it the gods speaking, or your own mind finding its way to solace? It's a fascinating question about the intersection of spirituality, psychology, and the human brain. So, as you slowly drift away from this profound chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, the power of memory and legacy was a vital cure for a broken heart. Their meticulous preservation of the dead, their elaborate funerary rituals, and their unwavering commitment to remembrance provided profound solace, transforming the pain of loss into a sense of enduring connection and eternal hope. You realize that, even in the land of the pharaohs, the ultimate comfort for despair lay not in forgetting, but in the powerful eternal act of remembering. The role of temple musicians and dancers was also crucial. Music and dance were seen as offerings to the gods, but also as powerful tools for emotional healing. The rhythmic sounds, the graceful movements, and the communal celebration could uplift the spirit, distract from sorrow, and create a sense of joy and connection that helped to mend a broken heart. You've just immersed yourself in the profound comfort that ancient Egyptians found in memory and legacy, a powerful antidote to the finality of loss. Now, as our journey through their unique approach to mending broken hearts finally draws to a close, you're about to discover something truly remarkable: how these ancient coping mechanisms, born in a world of pharaohs and pyramids, still resonate in subtle and not so subtle ways in your contemporary approaches to emotional pain. The echoes of the Nile still ripple through the modern world, shaping how you deal with heartbreak, grief, and the universal ache of loss. The guidance received from dreams could be varied. It might be a direct instruction to perform a specific ritual, to offer a sacrifice to a particular deity, or to seek out a certain individual. It could be a message of reassurance, telling you that your loved one is at peace in the afterlife, or that a new love is on the horizon. It could even be a symbolic representation of your own inner strength, reminding you of your resilience in the face of adversity. Imagine yourself back in your own time, scrolling through social media, perhaps watching a self-help video, or listening to a podcast about emotional resilience. You hear phrases like processing grief, finding closure, honoring their memory, or reconnecting with your inner self. Does this sound familiar? It should. These are distant, yet clear, echoes of the ancient Egyptian emphasis on structured mourning, the importance of the heart as the seat of self, and the profound power of remembrance. The language has changed, the context is different, but the fundamental human needs remain strikingly similar. Think about the psychological comfort this practice offered. In a world where mental health support was non-existent in your modern sense, dream incubation provided a structured, culturally sanctioned way to address profound emotional distress. It offered a sense of agency, a feeling that you were actively seeking answers and that the universe, or the gods, were listening. This belief alone could be incredibly therapeutic, alleviating anxiety and instilling hope. This isn't to say that modern therapy is the same as ancient Egyptian rituals, but the underlying psychological principles often align. You still crave meaning in suffering. You still seek ways to connect with those you've lost. You still need rituals, however informal, to mark transitions and process overwhelming emotions. The ancient Egyptians, in their wisdom, intuitively understood many aspects of human psychology that modern science has only recently begun to articulate. The emphasis on divine intervention also meant that the healing of a broken heart was not solely your burden. It was a shared responsibility with the gods. If your heart was heavy, you could appeal to the divine for help, placing your trust in a higher power to guide you through the darkness. This spiritual outsourcing of emotional pain could be immensely comforting. Consider the modern emphasis on grief work or grief counseling. When you lose a loved one, you are encouraged to express your emotions, to talk about your feelings, and to engage in activities that help you process the loss. This mirrors the ancient Egyptian practice of public lamentation and structured mourning rituals, which provided a culturally sanctioned outlet for intense sorrow. The idea that grief needs to be actively worked through rather than suppressed is a timeless truth. It's like your therapist telling you to journal your feelings, but without the mandatory tearing of clothes and public wailing. You might see individuals returning to the dream temple repeatedly, seeking ongoing guidance for their emotional struggles. The process wasn't always a one-time cure. It could be a continuous journey of self-discovery and spiritual connection, allowing you to gradually process your grief or navigate the complexities of your relationships. You see this resonance in the enduring popularity of memorialization. You create photo albums, share stories, visit grave sites, or establish scholarships in a loved one's name. These acts are direct descendants of the Egyptian practice of inscribing names on monuments, creating tomb paintings, and maintaining funerary cults. The fundamental human desire to keep the memory of the deceased alive, to ensure their legacy endures, is a powerful antidote to the finality of death, just as it was thousands of years ago. It's like your modern-day digital photo albums, but with a significantly higher chance of lasting for millennia. The stories of successful dream interpretations would spread through the community, reinforcing the belief in the practice. Someone might recount how a dream revealed the location of a lost love, or how a divine message brought peace after a devastating loss. These anecdotal successes, whether genuinely miraculous or simply the result of psychological breakthroughs, would encourage others to seek the same solace. The concept of the heart as the center of emotion still permeates your language and understanding, even if you know the brain is responsible for processing. You speak of a heavy heart, a broken heart, or a heartfelt emotion. You instinctively point to your chest when you feel strong emotions. This linguistic and intuitive connection to the heart as the seat of feeling is a direct echo of the ancient Egyptian heart-mind-conscience concept, demonstrating how deeply ingrained this ancient belief remains in your collective consciousness. A common historical fact is that the Egyptians believed that certain deities, like Serapis or Imhotep, had special powers related to healing and dreams, making their temples popular sites for incubation. Patients would often sleep in the temple precincts, hoping for a dream vision from the god that would reveal the cause or cure of their ailment. A common historical fact is that many modern grief theories emphasize the importance of continuing bonds with the deceased, rather than severing ties. This aligns remarkably with the ancient Egyptian practice of maintaining ongoing relationships with the dead through offerings, visits to tombs, and ancestor veneration. The idea that love transcends death and that connection can endure offers profound comfort across millennia. A lesser-known detail is the use of dream pillows or dream tablets. These were small objects, often made of stone or wood, inscribed with specific prayers, symbols, or images of deities associated with dreams. You would place these under your head while sleeping in the incubation chamber, believing they would enhance your connection to the divine realm and make your dreams clearer and more receptive to messages. It's like a spiritual USB stick for your brain. Think about the modern practice of self-care or mindfulness to manage emotional distress. You might engage in meditation, deep breathing exercises, or quiet contemplation to calm your mind and restore inner balance. These practices, while scientifically framed, echo the ancient Egyptian emphasis on maintaining Mayat cosmic order and balance within oneself, and the use of soothing rituals or dream incubation to find inner peace and guidance. The quest for internal harmony is a timeless pursuit. Historians still debate the precise psychological mechanisms at play during dream incubation. Was it a form of guided meditation leading to self-reflection, or a culturally sanctioned hallucination? Did the ritualistic setting and the patient's strong belief create a powerful expectation that influenced their dream content and subsequent interpretation? It's a fascinating area where ancient spiritual practice meets modern psychological inquiry. The enduring appeal of spiritual healing or faith-based counseling for emotional pain is another powerful echo. When faced with profound despair, many people still turn to religious leaders, spiritual guides, or prayer for comfort and intervention. This directly reflects the ancient Egyptian appeals to deities like Hathor and Isis for solace, healing, and guidance in matters of the heart. The human need for a higher power to lean on in times of emotional crisis remains constant. You might observe the reverence with which the dream interpreter approached their task. They understood the profound significance of these divine messages and the desperate hope of the individual seeking them. Their interpretations were delivered with solemnity and wisdom, guiding you towards actions that aligned with the divine will in your path to healing. A lesser-known detail is how modern therapeutic techniques sometimes inadvertently mirror ancient Egyptian practices. For instance, some trauma therapies involve reenacting or re-experiencing a traumatic event in a safe setting to process it. This has a subtle, almost sympathetic magic-like quality, where confronting the past in a controlled way aims to heal the present. Much like some ancient rituals sought to manipulate reality through symbolic action, it's like a very structured, very expensive version of burning a papyrus with your ex's name on it. The process of dream incubation also offered a unique form of self-reflection. By focusing on a specific question before sleep, and then actively recalling and interpreting your dreams, you were engaging in a deep introspection about your emotional state. This internal processing, guided by a spiritual framework, could lead to genuine emotional breakthroughs and a clearer understanding of your own feelings. Historians still debate whether the ancient Egyptian worldview, with its integrated approach to physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being, offered a more holistic and perhaps more effective framework for mental health than some later, more fragmented medical models. Did their lack of a strict mind-body dichotomy allow for a more comprehensive understanding and treatment of emotional suffering? It's a fascinating question about the advantages of ancient holistic perspectives. The emphasis on dreams as a source of wisdom was not limited to emotional healing. Dreams were also consulted for guidance in political decisions, military strategies, and even agricultural practices. This pervasive belief in the prophetic and guiding nature of dreams highlights their central role in ancient Egyptian life and their profound impact on decision-making. You might observe the modern trend of ancestor veneration or family history research. People delve into their lineage, creating family trees and connecting with their roots. This desire to understand and honor those who came before, to feel part of a larger, enduring story, directly echoes the ancient Egyptian emphasis on ancestor busts, family tombs, and the profound sense of belonging to an eternal lineage. The past continues to shape the present. You might feel a sense of profound peace after a successful dream incubation. The answers, however symbolic, would bring clarity and a renewed sense of purpose. The feeling of being heard by the divine, of having your suffering acknowledged by a higher power, that could be incredibly comforting, allowing your heart to begin its slow, arduous journey towards healing. The power of narrative in healing is also a continuous thread. You tell your story to friends, to therapists, or even to strangers online. You seek to make sense of your pain by weaving it into a coherent narrative. This mirrors the ancient Egyptian use of tomb paintings and biographical inscriptions, which created a permanent narrative of a life, offering meaning and continuity in the face of death. Storytelling, in its essence, is a timeless act of healing, so as you slowly drift away from this chapter, you understand that for the ancient Egyptians, dream incubation was far more than just sleeping. It was a sacred practice, a profound act of seeking divine or ancestral wisdom to mend the invisible wounds of the heart. It offered hope, guidance, and a deep psychological solace in a world where emotional pain was seen as a serious spiritual affliction. You realize that, even in the land of the pharaohs, the answers to a broken heart could sometimes be found in the whispers of a sacred dream. Consider the modern fascination with lucky charms or comfort objects. You might carry a special coin, Wear a particular piece of jewelry, or keep a sentimental item that brings you a sense of security or reminds you of a loved one. These objects, imbued with personal meaning and emotional power, are direct descendants of the ancient Egyptian amulets of affection and protection, which offered tangible solace and a sense of being guarded against unseen harms. You've just explored the subtle yet powerful realm of dream incubation, where the ancient Egyptians sought divine wisdom in the whispers of their sleep. Now, as your journey through their unique approach to mending broken hearts continues, you're about to confront the most inevitable and profound source of heartbreak: death. Prepare yourself to understand the elaborate and deeply meaningful rituals of mourning and passage. Practices designed not just to honor the deceased, but to aid the living in their emotional transition and to guide their own grieving hearts towards solace. The very concept of closure in modern grief counseling, while sometimes debated, reflects a desire for a definitive end to the acute pain of loss, a sense of resolution. This echoes the ancient Egyptian rituals of passage, which provided a structured, time-bound process for mourning, designed to guide the bereaved towards a state of acceptance and peace, ready for their own journey through life. Imagine yourself standing on the banks of the Nile, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and purple, casting long shadows across the palm trees. The air is filled with the mournful wails of professional lamenters, a sound that pierces your very soul and echoes the emptiness in your own chest. A beloved family member has passed, perhaps your parent, your spouse, or even a cherished child. The initial shock has given way to a crushing grief, a profound sense of loss that threatens to consume you. In this ancient land, death is not an end, but a transition, and the rituals surrounding it are designed to facilitate this journey, both for the deceased and for the grieving heart left behind. You might see the modern emphasis on positive affirmations or manifestation as a distant cousin to ancient Egyptian spells. While framed in terms of psychology and personal empowerment, the underlying idea that speaking positive words, focusing your intention, and visualizing a desired outcome can influence reality bears a striking resemblance to the ancient belief in the creative power of the spoken word and magical incantations. It's like your modern-day vision board, but with less glitter and more hieroglyphs. The logic behind these elaborate mourning rituals was deeply intertwined with the Egyptian belief in the afterlife and the interconnectedness of the living and the dead. Grief was not seen as a weakness to be suppressed, but a natural, necessary process for the heart to release its burden. By engaging in structured mourning, you are not only honoring the deceased and ensuring their safe passage to the field of reeds, but you are also actively participating in your own emotional healing. The rituals provided a framework, a culturally sanctioned outlet for overwhelming sorrow, preventing it from festering and weighing down your heart for its ultimate judgment. It's like your modern-day support groups, but with more dramatic costumes and a direct line to the underworld. The enduring human need for ritual, however informal, is also evident. From lighting candles for a lost loved one to holding annual gatherings in their memory, you create small, personal ceremonies to mark significant moments and process emotions. These are the quiet, everyday echoes of the elaborate, public rituals that defined ancient Egyptian life, providing structure and meaning in the face of emotional chaos. Let's delve into the specific practices of mourning. Immediately upon death, the family would begin a period of intense lamentation. This wasn't a quiet, private affair. It was often a public display of profound grief. You would tear your clothes, smear dust or mud on your head, and beat your chest. Professional mourners, often women, would be hired to amplify the lamentations, their piercing wails and ritualistic gestures adding to the emotional intensity of the scene. Their job was to express the collective sorrow, allowing the family to fully immerse themselves in their grief without inhibition. A common historical fact is that the human brain's capacity for symbolic thought and its susceptibility to the placebo effect are universal and timeless. These inherent human traits explain why both ancient magical practices and modern therapeutic interventions, when imbued with belief and meaning, can have profound effects on emotional and physical well-being. This initial period of intense, public mourning was crucial for the grieving heart. It provided an immediate, cathartic release of overwhelming emotions. You were not expected to be strong. You were expected to grieve openly and fully. The shared experience of sorrow, amplified by the professional mourners, created a powerful sense of communal support. reminding you that you were not alone in your pain. A lesser-known detail is how the ancient Egyptian emphasis on living a good life, adhering to ma'at for a favorable afterlife judgment, subtly influences modern concepts of karma or living with integrity for personal well-being. The idea that your actions in this life have consequences for your future peace, whether spiritual or psychological, is a profound and enduring echo of their moral framework. It's like your modern-day self-improvement goals, but with a direct link to your eternal soul. Then came the meticulous process of mummification, a ritual that could last up to 70 days. While seemingly focused on the deceased, this long, drawn-out process also served a vital purpose for the living. It provided a structured period of time for the grieving family to gradually come to terms with their loss. Each step of the mummification, the purification, the removal of organs, the drying with natron, the wrapping in linen bandages, was a tangible progression, a slow, deliberate farewell that allowed the reality of death to sink in. Historians still debate the extent to which modern Western psychology has overlooked or undervalued the holistic and spiritual dimensions of emotional healing. In contrast to ancient cultures like Egypt, did the scientific focus on the individual brain and mind inadvertently separate emotional well-being from its broader spiritual and communal context? A connection that the Egyptians intuitively understood. It's a fascinating question about the evolution of therapeutic approaches. You might visit the embalmer's workshop, observing the careful work, the reverence with which the body was treated. This close proximity to the process, however unsettling, helped to demystify death and to reinforce the belief that the deceased was being prepared for a glorious afterlife. It transformed the raw, immediate pain of loss into a more manageable, ritualized sorrow, focused on the journey ahead. You might observe the profound sense of peace that comes from knowing you have honored a loved one's memory, or from finding a sense of purpose in your own life after a loss. This feeling, however modern, is a direct continuation of the solace that ancient Egyptians found in ensuring an eternal legacy, transforming despair into enduring connection. A common historical fact is that professional mourners known as kites of Nephthys, or daughters of Isis, played a significant role in Egyptian funerals. These women would symbolically embody the goddesses Isis and Nephthys, who famously mourned their brother Osiris. Their ritualistic wailing, tearing of hair, and beating of breasts were not just for show. They were believed to help guide the deceased to the afterlife and provide a powerful emotional outlet for the bereaved. The very landscape of Egypt, with its eternal Nile and the vast, unchanging desert, reinforced the concepts of continuity and rebirth. The sun rose and set each day. The Nile flooded annually, bringing new life to the land. This natural cycle of death and rebirth mirrored their beliefs about the afterlife, offering a powerful metaphor for overcoming loss and finding renewal. This cosmic perspective, however indirectly, still informs your own understanding of cycles and change. The funerary procession itself was another powerful element of the grieving process. You would join the procession, walking alongside the sarcophagus, accompanied by priests, family members, and the wailing mourners. The journey from the home to the tomb was a symbolic passage, mirroring the deceased's journey to the afterlife. Each step was a step towards acceptance, a physical manifestation of moving forward, even while your heart remained heavy. The emphasis on preparing for your own emotional well-being, through self-reflection and connection, is a modern echo of the ancient Egyptian preparation for the afterlife. By actively engaging with your emotions and building resilience, you are, in a sense, preparing your own heart for the inevitable challenges of life, ensuring it remains light and pure. At the tomb, elaborate ceremonies would take place. The opening of the mouth ritual, for instance, was performed to symbolically restore the deceased's senses, their ability to see, hear, speak, and eat in the afterlife. For the living, witnessing this ritual offered immense comfort, a reassurance that their loved one would continue to exist, to experience, and to thrive in the next world. This belief in continued existence was a powerful antidote to the absolute finality of death, offering solace to the grieving heart. So, as you finally close your eyes on this long, comforting journey through ancient Egypt, you understand that the echoes of their approach to a broken heart are all around you. They whisper in the language you use, in the rituals you create, and in the enduring human need for hope. meaning, and connection in the face of suffering. The ancient remedies may have been different, but the fundamental human desires that fueled them remain timeless. A quiet hum beneath the surface of your modern world? Now, let your mind drift gently away from the images of the past. Ancient tombs, whispered mantras, and intricately carved amulets, all of them vanish like morning mist. You have passed through a world where heartache is considered a real disease, and where cures are woven from faith, magic, and reverence for eternal life. Take a deep breath. Feel the softness of the bed beneath you, and know that no matter how much time passes, the human heart still seeks healing, comfort, and a glimmer of hope in the darkness. Let these thoughts gently lull you to sleep, knowing that love and pain are eternal threads woven into the tapestry of human history. A lesser-known detail about Egyptian mourning rituals is the practice of feasts of the dead. These were not somber, silent affairs. Families would regularly visit the tombs of their deceased loved ones, bringing food and drink, and engaging in lively feasts and celebrations. The idea was to maintain a connection with the deceased, to share a meal with them across the veil of death, and to remember them not just with sorrow, but with joy and continued affection. This ongoing interaction provided a healthy way to process grief, transforming it from an unbearable burden into a cherished, albeit bittersweet, connection. It's like having a family reunion. But one of the guests is spiritually present and really enjoys stale bread. Historians still debate whether the elaborate nature of Egyptian funerary rituals primarily served to ease the grief of the living, or if their main purpose was to ensure the deceased's successful transition to the afterlife and maintain cosmic order. Was it a form of ancient grief therapy, or a religious imperative? It's likely both, as the Egyptians saw no clear distinction between the spiritual well-being of the living and the dead. You might observe the creation of ushabadi figures, small servant figurines placed in the tomb. These were believed to come to life in the afterlife and perform tasks for the deceased, freeing them from labor, for the grieving family. Commissioning these figures was an act of love and care, a way to ensure their loved ones' comfort and prosperity in the next world. This act of continued provision offered a tangible way to express enduring affection and alleviate the helplessness of loss. You might observe the dream interpreter carefully listening to your every word, noting down details, and then consulting ancient texts or their own accumulated wisdom. They would look for recurring symbols, significant numbers, or direct commands within your dream narrative. Their role was not just to tell you what your dream meant, but to guide you towards the actions you needed to take based on the divine message. The emphasis on memory and legacy was also crucial for healing. By building elaborate tombs, inscribing names on monuments, and maintaining cults for the deceased, families ensured that their loved ones would be remembered for eternity. The belief that to speak the name of the dead is to make them live again meant that the act of remembering was an active form of preservation, a way to keep the beloved present in the world, even after their physical departure. This emphasis on enduring legacy provided immense comfort to the grieving heart.